All right, well, welcome. This is Willamette Week's endorsement interview for Oregon House of Representatives, District 25. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to start with each of you. Just take 1 or 2 minutes to introduce yourself, tell us why you're running, and a bit about your background. Ben, we'll start with you.
Hi there, my name is Ben Bowman, Democratic nominee, Independent Party nominee, and Working Families Party nominee in House District 25, which is Tigard, South Beaverton, Progress Ridge, and Metzger. I grew up in the area, grew up attending Tigard-Tualatin Public Schools. Now I serve as chair of the school board. I'm in my 4th year on the school board, 2nd year as chair.
Tigard?
Tigard-Tualatin. It's a combined district. I think we're the 9th largest in the state. In my professional day job, I just transitioned out of a job at the Department of Education in anticipation of hopeful legislative service, and I work for the Gladstone School District now. Previously worked doing legislative affairs. I worked for Rep. Doherty as her chief of staff for a few years. Used to work for Val Hoyle when she was majority leader of the State House. And my background is in public education policy. That's what I got my master's degree in.
So what did you do at Oregon Department of Education?
I was an operations and policy analyst worked directly under the deputy director, so what it really looked like was a lot of special projects.
Dumb that down for
So my first project
those of us.
My first project was Ready School Safe Learners.
What?
So Ready School Safe Learners was the COVID guidance out of the ODE. I was coordinating that group, with the ODE team, coordinating with the OHA team. I was taking notes, scheduling meetings, doing research, those kinds of things. I've done equity strategic plan internally for the agency, which is they've replaced the agency strategic plan with an equity strategic plan. So I worked on those kinds of things. The Every Student Belongs rule. I don't know if I think you actually wrote about that. Prohibited the Confederate flag and symbols of hate on school campuses.
What year was that?
Oh man.
Or just like 2 years, 5 years?
Within the last 2 years.
Okay.
I think it was 2021.
Sorry, real quick, going back to the COVID guidance for schools. I know there was obviously a lot of bluster around that. Do you think you guys got it right?
I think students should have been back in sooner than they were.
By like a month, a week, month?
More than that. I think it's easy in hindsight. I think it was really hard in the moment. I was anticipating some conversation about this, and I think at the front end, before we knew very much, I think it was right to be cautious. And I think by the middle, on the school board, we were, I think, the first district maybe in the state to go back to extracurriculars as soon as we were asking the state to let us go back.
When did you guys go back to extracurriculars?
I'd have to go look.
Okay.
I'd have to look. But yeah, I think we all could see the damage that was being done, and now we're seeing it really acutely, not just academically, but social emotionally. One of the projects I'm working on now in Gladstone is the attendance team, and chronic absenteeism is maybe its worst ever in Oregon last year.
At a particular school or just throughout?
I think across the state.
Okay.
Definitely in some districts. Other districts are doing really well. I don't know if you probably saw some of the district report cards. Some districts did okay. I think the majority of them are struggling, and chronic absenteeism is the indicator that I'm most
How's your district doing?
In Tigard-Tualatin?
Yeah, Tigard-Tualatin.
It's one of those things, the way it was framed in Pamplin, I think is right, which is much worse than before, but still better than most districts. This is a national phenomenon where the numbers are down.
So why are you running for this district?
So I think 2023, it's a transformational moment in Oregon. We're going to have a new governor, and as of today, I don't think anyone knows who that's going to be. We're going to have a new Senate president. We're going to have a new Speaker of the House. We're going to have unprecedented turnover in the state legislature in modern history, the greatest number of people returning, and we're going to have a whole host of crises happening simultaneously at the same time. And
what crises?
Housing crisis, behavioral health crisis, hospital crisis, education crisis with our kids returning. And I think my background and my skill set are a good fit for this moment, and I know my community really well, and I think I can represent them effectively in Salem.
Mm-hmm. Quick question, why are we in these crises?
I think it's unique and specific to each one, but in general, I think the pandemic has exacerbated all of them.
To what degree does the majority party in control get the credit or blame for these crises? Or how they've handled them?
Certainly some. I think...
And more specific?
I think if you look at how Oregon has invested in specific examples, housing, the behavioral health crisis, and the addiction crisis, wholly insufficient.
You mean the amount of money they've spent?
The amount of money, the infrastructure we've built, the policies we've developed in anticipation of this crisis, which we should have had our eye on the ball better. I think that's all true, and I think that some responsibility is bared by my party.
So what would you do, for example, as a legislator in the housing?
A lot of things. Former Governor Kitzhaber gave a presentation to the Oregon Board of Forestry a few months ago. I don't know if you all saw that.
Missed that one.
Yeah, not on the top of your entertainment list. He was talking about, I mean, the bottom line is our supply is far less. Our production of supply is far less than what it needs to be, not just to meet our current needs, but anticipating future growth needs. And so he's proposing basically very Kitzhaberian proposal of that includes land use policy, forest policy, production policy, and kind of all weaves it together in a plan that would produce, I think his target is like 10 or 20,000 units per year annually for 10 to 20 years.
I'm looking for something specific to hang my hat on that you support. So for example, there's a story in the New York Times today about how Gavin Newsom appears to be solving the housing problem in part by eliminating any single-family zoning in the state, which, as you know, was done by Tina Kotek, but also by almost Republican style cutting a bunch of environmental and building zone and code regulations. Those are very specific. I'm just wondering, other than John Kitzhaber and forest policy, what would you do as a member of the Democratic Party to see to it that all this money that we've raised is being spent in the right area?
That's a good question, and I'll acknowledge I'm not even a freshman legislator yet, so I don't pretend to have all the answers. But I'm open to that. I read an article by Ezra Klein that's similar to that, basically saying liberals have gotten in their own way because we basically, like in the Nader era, we were crafting these policies with government as the enemy, and now we've made it really hard for government to act decisively to solve problems. So I think there's something to that. I just don't know the specifics enough to know.
Can you indulge us with one other answer, which is, since you've been on the inside, can you offer any constructive criticism about the Oregon Department of Education? Or is it just a perfect bureaucracy?
I will say I really enjoy working in the Department of Education. There's a bill concept that I'm interested in. I haven't figured out the details yet, but education governance in Oregon. As you know, the governor is the superintendent of public instruction. That used to be an elected position, and it creates an odd, in my opinion, it creates an odd dynamic for the person running the Department of Education, and it makes it almost inherently political, when I don't always think that's the right thing. So I've been looking at, there's different states have wildly different models for how the director of the Department of Education, or the superintendent, is determined and how long their term is. But I think some stability in that position. There's a lot of research that says stability in school and system leadership is actually a predictor of success.
Last question, so if you feel indulged, we had a Democrat in here not long ago who said that in his mind, teachers in Oregon are overprotected and underpaid. This is a Democrat.
Overprotected and underpaid. Overprotected as in like...
Can't get rid of bad teachers. Can't get rid of mediocre teachers.
I don't think that's true. I think there's mechanisms to do it. I think it doesn't often get done. I also think that in the scale of problems we have in public education, that's not in the top 5. There's much more. We have a workforce problem. I don't know why we'd be getting. We should certainly be
bottom 3.
Say it again.
It's in the bottom 3.
Of what?
Oregon is in the bottom 3 of education.
By what measures?
Just testing standards and,
I don't think that's right.
abilities. Yes, that's been published just a little bit ago.
Okay. Sorry, Sophie.
Okay, Bob, can you
Yes.
take a couple minutes, introduce
Yes.
yourself, and tell us why you're running for this?
My name is Bob Niemeyer. I'm an independent mechanical engineer and I do product development. I've worked at a home in Tigard for more than 30 years. I do various different types of things. The last thing that I put on the marketplace was a device for diabetic to take blood samples. And it was a
So you're an inventor?
Yes, I have over 30 patents.
Do you really?
Yes.
And makes robots.
And yes, I do make robots. I have 6 bouts and 2 wins, but I never made it to TV yet.
Oh, you build robots that you do competitively?
BattleBots, yes.
BattleBots?
Yes.
Oh my God.
My latest one is about this wide, about this long,
So,
and it's a full body flipper.
So I'm sorry, you make a living by inventing stuff and selling it and bring it to market?
Well, yeah, when somebody has an idea too that wants to have
So
their,
what's been your most successful product?
that, the
Or
most
a
successful.
Give us just,
Well, I oftentimes help people put things onto the marketplace, like Spectraphysics, for instance. They're the ones that make the barcode scanners for
grocery items?
grocery items,
Yeah.
yes. And when you see the little lines coming out of there, I actually did the development of that system in a way that would keep the lasers in proper orientation to come through the windows to properly see the material. I mean, see the barcodes on the cans. And what I did for them was I did a severe cost reduction on how they were spending money on mounting the mirrors.
Gotcha.
And, you know, those types of engineering things, in California, when I was building digital plotters, those digital plotters are actually getting used for more than 10 years, a high-tech item that lasted for 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is this your first time running for office?
No.
Okay, what have you run for?
I've run for governor 6 years ago.
Okay.
Then I ran
As a
against...
Republican?
Yes. I got 10% of the vote then, too.
No,
Yes,
you
I've been
didn't.
here.
You didn't come out. You didn't emerge out of the primary. You're saying you were in the primary.
I was in primary, yes.
I don't remember. Were you in our office?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
We see a lot of people. Okay, so you ran for governor 6 years ago.
I understand. Yes, I ran for governor, and then I ran against Susan Bonamici for Congress, and then I ran for this District 35 at the time, 2 years ago during the pandemic, and then now.
So that's 6 times total?
6.
6 times total. Okay. Why this office? Why not governor again?
Well, the governor thing was a money thing. I mean, it was just way too much money. That time before I got 10% of the vote, I was able to, I had the $3,500 is all I spent in that race and still got 10% of the vote, which was pretty darn good based upon an entire platform of just cutting the size of government.
Is that still your platform?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. And can you give us 3 to 4 examples of how you want to cut government?
Right now, you've got the Oregon Health Authority and the Transportation Authority. Those 2 branches of government have been called branches of government by several people in both the legislature, in both houses of the legislature. They look at them as being branches of government and have actually given them authority to do some taxation. Now, 2 years ago, the Transportation Authority did try and float a tax. Luckily, that went down. They should not be able to do that type of thing, and they should not be able to do this tolling effort that they have going right now. I'm completely against tolls.
What taxes currently in Oregon do you support? State or local?
Well, the fuel taxes. But what I support is making sure that those fuel taxes get used to the roads. One thing that I found when I was running for governor, going around to the different locations in the state, I was surprised to hear how many times the state had taken the money from fuel taxes and did not return it to the counties. They were actually, in some cases, where they were getting less than 20% of what those counties were actually supposed to be getting. I think that's still going on today. So I think that the counties are being ripped off heavily by the fuel taxes not being returned to where the fuel was actually consumed. I want to make sure that the Transportation Authority does not get the authority to do toll roads.
Your document is really helpful. You lay out a bunch of your issues, and I think I understand them. A couple I'm not sure. Do you believe that Joe Biden was duly elected president?
Yes.
Do you believe voter fraud happened?
Oh, I believe a huge amount of fraud happened.
But you still think Joe Biden won fair and square?
Yeah, he won actually a little bit more than than I thought would have been possible, but he probably did win
And you would like to get rid of vote by mail?
completely, yes.
Because according to this, you have no evidence that it's been corrupted, but you believe the possibility exists for it to be corrupted.
There's so many possibilities for corruption.
I mean, again, you
that
laid
it
out
needs to be
step by
done.
step how it might be, but you've got no evidence. And which age?
Oh, yes, I do. I'm also a poll watcher.
No, I know you say that.
Yes.
I've read that. But there's nothing in here that said you saw. That you witnessed fraud. You just said there's a lot of opportunities
Yeah, the
for fraud to take
opportunity.
place. And then you said that Oregon's Attorney General admitted that the counting machines are hackable. Which are Oregon
Yes, you
Attorney?
did. Rosenblum did.
When?
That was about 4 months ago now.
And she
In
said.
public, or?
Yes. Yes, and almost every Republican thing that I go to, they kind of tout that she admitted it,
What did she say?
that machines are hackable. And when I was watching some of the machines actually being tested over in Washington County, they actually ran through 30,000 artificial votes to run through the machines. They did their copies and they did their usual thing for making sure that everything was exactly right. But when I started challenging the software that they're using, and I started asking, well, can we do this exact same thing the day after the election is supposed to be done? And it was absolutely no. They don't want to have anything done after the election or during a certain time frame to verify that these votes were counted properly. There's a lot of little things that they were doing at Washington County that were rather disturbing. And of course, I don't have a complete list in there.
Right. Just quickly, in your other issues, you're a strong supporter of charter schools.
Yes.
You wanna
In
move-
fact, I want to go completely
You want to go
vouchers.
to a completely voucher system. So obviously, I assume you have a different position on the Oregon Department of Education than your opponent does.
Yes.
Would you get rid of the Oregon Department of Education?
No, I believe that there should be standards. They should be setting standards for the charter schools and for the students. I don't mind that at all, but when they actually, the school boards and things like that are kind of limited in their selection of books, and how much they're spending on books is absolutely incredible.
What do you mean they're limited on their?
Okay, you can probably answer this question.
Yeah.
Right now, I believe, or I've got information that says that our schools are spending about $1,200 to $1,400 per set of books per student each year. And there's about 550,000 students. That's an awful lot of money. Why is that set of books costing that kind of money every year? That doesn't make sense to me.
Each school board gets to pick which curriculum, as long as it's aligned to state standards, which
Yes.
the department should make.
Yes.
We get to select which curriculum
Yes,
books.
and why can't they go get books that were, well, I favor the school boards being able to go back in time, basically to before 1920, so they have to pay a copyright cost on the books.
Wait,
I
so
think
which
that it
book
should
do
be
you want?
manufactured in Oregon too. I think that all of the school books, the math books, the reading books, and everything like that, should be manufactured here, as opposed to someplace else, and we'd save a huge amount of money if we were to do that.
Wait, can you be more specific about which book you're talking about? You're saying books that were published pre-1920?
Yes, the Congress did do that copyright law to 100.
No, I know, but like, I mean, can you just name a title of one of these books?
No,
that
I
were
can't
pub-
name it what title right
Okay,
now.
so it's just the concept that you want to
It's
get the
the-
books prior
yes.
to the copyright.
Yes, and that way we can get around paying some of these horrendous amounts of cost for copyright.
So what about everything that's happened in the last century? Like, don't we want to teach kids about things that have happened in like the
Math
last
doesn't
century?
change much.
Okay.
Right, okay, well, let's talk about not math. Let's talk about history.
History, yeah, if you get
Has
a
history changed in the past
100-year-old,
100 years?
Yeah, but a 100-year-old book is going to be more accurate than what they are printing today.
What
They're
do
gonna
you
be
take
more
issue with what's
hands-on.
printing today? What are the primary things that you think are
Because
getting printed today that are inaccurate? And be specific about specific historical events which you think either aren't relevant to students
Well-
today or shouldn't be printed.
Well, I don't think the 1619 project should be available to anybody in school. That's completely wrong in terms of history.
What about critical race theory?
That should also be completely cut out of the schools. And
you think
it
it's
should
there
be-
now?
It should be cut out of government, because right now, there was some things going on in the state capitol that required people that were working at the capitol to go to CRT classes.
Can you name one school that's using the 1619 project?
I thought that was kind of a universal thing going around right now. If it's not being used, well, it is being used in the Portland schools, but I can't speak for Tigard.
Can you name a Portland school that's using it?
No, it's just all of the Portland schools. They have their school board. There's, I believe, 6 people in charge of the school board there.
So Ben had mentioned an act that he had helped craft at Department of Education. Every student belongs rule. It sounds like it prohibited Confederate
Confederate
flags.
flag, Nazi symbols, and other hate symbols and bias
Yes.
incidents.
Do you believe in that?
Yes, I don't believe we should have those things in the school.
What about
I also don't believe we should have the rainbow flag. I think that we should stick with the American flag and kind of call it quits there.
Do you think that the circuit court was wrong when they said that Newburgh violated the First Amendment rights of teachers by prohibiting them from displaying a pride flag in their classroom? You disagree with the court?
I don't think they should have had the rainbow flag.
Bob, just quickly on social issues, just trying to pin you down a little bit. Are you pro-life?
Yes,
Okay. How about on guns? You're endorsed by the NRA?
I am pro-guns, if that's what you
But you
mean.
haven't
I don't have an endorsement from the NRA.
Can you share with us, and I'm going to ask the same question you, to demonstrate your independence anywhere where you disagree with the Republican Party, where you might differ on a vote?
I have to think about that one.
Okay. How about for you and the Democratic Party, demonstrate your independence to
I
us?
think the example I would use is public safety. I don't support defund the police, and there were folks in my own party who were pretty vociferously demanding that school resource officers be removed in TTSD, and I did not support that. We went through a full process in our community that included students, included parents, included teachers, included both law enforcement agencies of Tigard and Tualatin. And there were some folks, as I'm sure you've seen, other districts who've removed SROs, and I disagree with them on that.
Okay.
in your district kept them though?
We kept them.
Okay.
We've adapted them again, and like the job description looks different. One small example is like students asked for officers to show up in plain clothes more often, and they're working with them on that. They're participating in district professional development, so they're integrated in the system. I think it came to actually a far healthier place. The school resource officers are reaching out to the affinity groups to try to build relationships, which to me is a much better long-term strategy.
Do either of you two have children?
Yes,
Did they go to the public school system?
yes.
And how did it work for them?
My daughter graduated in '01, so they've been
But I'm just wondering, did she have a good experience with the Portland Public School System?
in Tigard, Tualatin.
Did she have a good experience with the public school system that your opponent
No.
sat on the board? She had a bad experience?
Yes.
Is that what
So did my
informs your
son.
thinking
I had to
about
pull my
public-
son out of school because of bullying, and absolutely nothing was being done about it.
So does that inform your thinking about vouchers in part? Or
Yes, it does.
is there a Republican in the legislature who you look to and say, that's the kind of Republican I want to be? That's the kind of senator? Or is there a mentor, a role model?
Yes, but he got kicked out, Mike Neerman.
But Mike Neerman is your sort of guiding spirit.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
How about you?
And to answer the question about the Republicans, not
Oh, independence? Yeah.
independents.
Yeah.
Several of the Republicans in Tigard want the light rail system to go through into Tigard. I do not, because it'll destroy the livability of Tigard. I don't believe we should build it.
Because homeless people
It's-
will be taking trains to Tigard, or?
No, it's going to chop up Tigard in a way that we're going to actually lose some of the land for a whole bunch of core businesses right in the center of the town. I would rather see those businesses
Where?
stay there.
You mean on Main Street?
No, not on Main Street, but
'Cause it
over
doesn't-
So,
On-
as a general matter, do you oppose mass transit?
no, I don't.
Just-
I just
just
don't
in
think
your
it should
town.
be expanded into Tigard. I actually believe that it'd be better to expand business capabilities in McMinnville. Let people have their businesses out there. Let people have their businesses in Tigard. And not have to commute over huge distances to go there. I would rather see other places have communities that don't have to travel from here to here in order to have a job. Let them have their businesses out there. And that goes all the way down to all of the land use issues and things like that that are being chopped back severely. I mean, I would rather see, like I say, like in Coos Bay, let them have their businesses, let them have their deep water port that they want to build. We shouldn't be telling them that they can't do that, because that would create businesses in Oregon down there. And McMinnville, of course, they've got this massive steel recycling place out there. Why can't we use that steel to expand to maybe get a car building company from Tennessee up here, as opposed to making sure everything happens down in the south? There's possibilities if we just allow them to keep those businesses out there. You don't have to drive back and forth, and they don't have to ride light rail to do things.
What's the registration breakdown in your district?
It's like D plus 19.
Do you have an uphill battle?
Yes,
Do you have a budget? Are you spending money on this campaign?
yes. I'm pretty much completely self-financing on this.
How much do you plan to spend?
Less than 5,000. I'm up to about,
What is your budget?
Raised or spent in district? I'm probably going to spend less, probably $10,000 or less. But I'm going to raise, my goal is to raise more than that.
What's your goal for raising? Or how much have you raised?
I think I've raised like, I think it's going to be updating soon, but I think I'm in the 70 to 80,000 range.
Can I have each of you describe one personal professional failure you've had? Bob, I'll start with you.
professional failure. I mean, like a product line that just didn't go anywhere.
Not necessarily that. I'm thinking you lost your temper over something, or you started a business and it failed, or something interpersonal with a colleague. A place where you have deep regret over, how you acted or what you did or what course you decided to take.
Well, that's part of my business, is making sure that I don't blow my stack at people. It's very, very difficult sometimes. Probably the biggest failure that's going on right at this moment was that diabetic Lance. We did absolutely virtually everything that the FDA wanted, and we still couldn't satisfy what they wanted. They're literally shutting it down.
That
So
doesn't
my
sound like
biggest-
that doesn't seem like you're saying that's a personal failure, though. It sounds like you're
well,
saying that's an FDA
Personally,
failure.
I saw the writing on the wall long time ago. And what I regret is not coming forward and saying, hey, we need to do something to get ready for this. Because I really do feel bad about the other employees losing their jobs, but I mean, we could have taken a different approach. And I
So
knew
you
what
have
to do.
employees?
No, the Gentile company
Okay.
that I developed that Lance for. And I really do regret having not kind of thrown up some more, yelling more loudly at that when we started getting this FDA stuff, when we couldn't seem to satisfy their requirements.
Got it. Ben, professional failure?
The one that comes to mind for me is, this was my second year on the school board. It was the summer of 2020. And I, with a colleague, basically pushed through a resolution of the school board which committed the board to crafting a policy on hate speech, which is something students had been asking for several years. And the usual process is you'd have a first reading and you'd have a second reading, and you'd give your colleagues a chance to weigh in and edit. And because it was such an emotional topic, and I felt like it was really important, I pushed it too fast. It passed on a 4-to-1 basis. Our more conservative school board member voted no. It was pretty divisive in the community. Even this, it was not a good time in the school district, and if we would have gone slower. She ended up actually voting for the policy that was passed that we committed to. So it was a 5-0 policy, but that was a leadership lesson for me.
How would have going slower?
Let her weigh
Moved
in.
you.
Let her share her thoughts. Let her contribute to the language in the resolution. Like, she voted for the policy. She clearly was willing to commit to the policy, but I think she wanted her voice and her perspective represented in the conversation, and it was really presented as like, this is the resolution. You either vote for it or you
So you
vote
think
against it.
you bulldozed a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have? Can I have each of you talk about one bill you're keen on advancing to the legislature if elected? Bob, we'll start with you.
Yes, it's actually on the list there. It has to do with changing the judicial branch.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. I believe that the judicial branch is no longer representing the Constitution like it's supposed to. It has to defend itself with all of the PERS and stuff, that the benefits that they get. They're more concerned about protecting their own benefits than they are protecting the Constitution from the legislature. And I believe that what needs to be done is for them to literally be taken off PERS, completely convert them over to what I call independent contractors, such that they have no benefits other than getting cash from the government for representing
And
their
you're certainly
branch.
not the first to propose that judges be taken off of PERS. I thought you were also proposing the legislators also be removed from
Yes,
PERS.
but I think that starting with the judicial branch is the first step. Now, you remember, I brought that up in 4 years ago, where I wanted to completely convert every elected and appointed official. But I backed off on that because that's too much to grab. But if we get the judicial branch first, that way the things that they seem to be stopping progress on just because they're protecting themselves would be out of the way, and they might be able to do the whole thing.
Do you have any thoughts about this? Because this has actually been run up the flagpole on several occasions. The idea that, particularly as it relates to the Supreme Court, they're making determinations, huge determinations that have real fiscal consequences for the state as well as for the tens of thousands of public employees. And the idea is they're self-dealing. They're on PERS. I mean, there have been a number of calls from moderate Republicans and even some conservative Democrats. And I'm just wondering what you think about it. I mean, obviously this PERS overhang is a big challenge facing the state. Do we want to eliminate the perception, if not the reality, of a conflict of interest?
I'm interested in learning more. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that
I want to know what you think should happen.
I mean,
so merit to his argument.
So what I will say is, when we put people in public positions, it is impossible to, like, I was thinking about this when I knew I had to leave ODE and I had to take some other job. Any job that I take, there's an inherent conflict of interest. At some point, I will be voting on a bill. That's going to be true for the judicial branch too. Like, pick your poison. They're
So
going
at no point do you ever need to draw, I mean, there's
No,
an
of
effort, we just had Blumenauer in here, and we were talking about the fact that there's an effort to ban the kind of stock trades that Ron Wyden and Blumenauer and his wife engage in regularly, and he made the same argument. It's impossible to corral all the conflicts.
I fully support the ban on stock trading. Like, I think there's a lot of things that you can do to draw the line, but you can't eliminate. You can't make someone wholly and completely unbiased in any way. Their experiences, their job. Like, I think that's all going to be part of the perception they bring. I also think they're public employees. Like, the judicial branch are public employees. So.
And then that's where it has to be drawn the line. They
All right.
cannot be public employees.
How
They
about-
have to represent
What
something.
would be your first bill?
My first bill is going to be setting up a jurisdictional transfer of Hall Boulevard, which runs through Tigard, from the state. It's currently an orphan highway in horrible disrepair. It runs by Metzger Elementary, which is our lowest socioeconomic status school in
Hall
Tigard.
Street? Sorry.
Hall Boulevard.
Hall
It's a
Boulevard.
big mess of a street in Beaverton.
It's
Okay.
horrible.
What are you going to do?
It's
Transfer?
called a jurisdictional transfer. They did it on East 82nd, Rep.
Yeah,
Con
yeah.
Fam.
Who are you going to give it to?
Tigard, they want it. They're ready to take it on. But it has to be brought up to a minimum level of
This is your
quality.
first issue.
Yes, this is a big deal in Tigard. This is a
And
huge
then,
deal.
and then what does Tiger do once it gets control of the...
Tigard has already said that Tigard's got a really advanced road repair, and like they have a repair system where like they're way on top of it. They can handle the additional capacity. They just need it at a baseline level before they accept the transfer.
Gotcha.
Is the state considering doing that?
Yes, this is like money is the challenge right now. ODOT has been out, they've done tours. I think Congresswoman Bonamici has actually secured some Safe Route to School dollars to help get us started on there's literally places on Home Boulevard where kids are walking to school on the asphalt where only a white stripe separates them from 40-mile-per-hour cars. Elementary school kids. It's atrocious. So I think, and ODOT's got this calculation of how they determine, orphan highways are a thing that they're planning for transitioning.
Gotcha.
I want Hall Boulevard to be primary on their list.
Can I ask, Bob, you a question? I have to admit, I'm kind of charmed by the fact that you are swimming upstream. I mean, your views are so counter to prevailing wisdom. So here we have, after Trump wins the election, a call to basically get rid of the Electoral College and move to a popular vote. And you
And
have
I
a
have
call
electoral college
that
in
you
the
want to
counties.
make state elections happen with an Electoral College of the counties. You want to basically
Yes.
get rid of the popular vote.
I want to see...
Because you're concerned that
There-
Portland, for example, has too much sway in Oregon.
Well, it does.
Because
Yes.
we have a population
And I
center.
explained that
So-
about the diversity issues that the founding fathers of the United States faced.
So you would have an Electoral College of the counties.
Of the counties. And part of that is I would also set it up so that the senators, I would cut them back to one senator for 2 counties. And those counties must be adjacent so that they would represent the entire state all at once.
Multnomah County would have 1 senator.
No, I'm not sure what county is right next to it that would wind up, but Multnomah County and
Washington.
maybe Washington County would have one senator.
And then
yes.
Malheur would get its own senator.
Yeah, Malheur and Harney.
Harney. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
You guys good?
We're good.
Okay, we have one last question. It's sort of our fun question. It's not
As
that
long
fun,
as it's not, as long as it's not about roach coaches.
About what?
Roach coaches.
I don't know what that is.
What are you referring to?
I mean, maybe it should be about that.
Yeah.
It is now.
No,
This happened last time?
4 years ago, you asked about what's your best roach coach for downtown Portland. I
What's
said
a
there's
roach
What is a
coach?
roach coach?
those things on wheels that sell hot dogs and tacos.
Oh, your best food cart.
Yes.
You're calling him a roach coach because of your own. Okay. He asked you for your favorite. What did you say for your favorite food cart? You said you don't have them.
I said there's a reason they're called roach coaches.
Bob, we got to figure out a way to get rid of battle bots.
You're gonna
deal with that. All I have to say.
We'll host the next tournament. Okay, fun question. If the world were ending tomorrow, what's the last food you would eat?
And it has to be from a roach coach.
He's going hungry, man. He's not doing it.
I'd make it for myself. It would just be a ham and Swiss on whole wheat.
All right.
Yeah, I mean that would.
Any condiments?
No.
You're missing an opportunity to speak to your base. If you have a large Italian community in your district, here's your chance.
Yeah.
You can say you want your last meal to be lasagna. No, ham and cheese. Okay, how about you?
Ham and cheese.
I'm gonna go Thanksgiving dinner. We're gonna go turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes and gravy, Brussels sprouts, and for dessert, my grandmother had actually it was my great grandmother had a flat chocolate cake recipe that my dad has perfected. So that will be dessert, and then I will die a happy man.
Thank you both for
Thank you
coming
both for coming in.
We
Really
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want one of these too?